Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. My name is Ron Tyler. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our show tonight. Now, folks, we are going to suspend the introduction of the national anthem for us tonight because we have to get on with our program. It is already 7 p.m. and YouTube has prevented me from going on the air before now. I've had nothing but problems logging into YouTube tonight. It's terrible. It's horrible. I swear if I didn't have to use YouTube, I would not do it. But a lot of people have been waiting for me to come on the air. A lot of people are used to us coming on the air here on YouTube. I'm not going to sacrifice not putting out information because YouTube plays games. I'm going to continue showing you the information. Now, I do have some bad news that could turn into very bad news before the end of the night or before tomorrow or by the end of the weekend. This came in just about an hour or two ago. President Putin, Vladimir Putin, has announced that he has put the Hellfire Satan's missile, ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, on standby to launch at the United States of America. Again, Putin has announced about 2 hours ago that he has put the Hellfire Satan's missile, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, on standby to launch against the United States of America, possibly even Ukraine. Okay? That's not fair. That's not even good. Okay? I hate even talking about that. But we have to be ready. I've been warning everybody. I've been warning everybody about this for 5.5 years, that you need to be prepared. Juby Joseph Soware, possibly against Ukraine, but he's also warned the United States and Britain that he may launch missiles against us, the U.S. and Britain, because we have launched missiles belonging to the U.S. and Britain. Biden launched missiles. He gave Ukraine permission to launch missiles last week, and that's what happened. Now, Vladimir Putin has also given us warning that he may launch against Ukraine and the United States and Britain. NCWQ Rebecca says, and other Western countries, I agree. Okay? Possibly other Western countries. Richard Smith says Canada is not out of the woods either. No, they're not. That's because Canada, France, and Britain have said that they have sent troops to Ukraine to fight specifically against Russia. Allegedly, they have troops on the ground in Russia. We also have troops. U.S. also has troops on the ground in Ukraine right now, operating the ICBMs that we launched at Russia. So Putin's had it. Putin is behind the 8 ball. He's already warned the United States before. This is not the first time that Vladimir Putin has warned the United States about a possible missile launch against the United States of America. Putin has also launched B-Bear bombers in the air. He's had Bear bombers around Alaska and up and down the Pacific West Coast of the United States before. He's also had Bear bombers over around Hawaii. He has had Bear bombers over around England as well. But this may be the final last straw with Putin. Now, this comes after President Donald J. Trump has also appointed a U.S. envoy to Ukraine to try to negotiate with Ukraine and Russia to end this war. About a week and a half ago, Putin said he would only negotiate with President Trump. So hopefully this negotiator can do something to stop this war from happening. Okay? But I want to give you a heads up. Number one, because Putin's warned us before. And there's been also talk of Putin attacking the United States and Britain before this weekend, even before Thanksgiving tomorrow. November 28th is Thanksgiving here in the United States. Canada had their Thanksgiving in October. Folks, this is not good. This is not good at all. Okay? I know this is before Thanksgiving. We ought to be rejoicing about Thanksgiving. Yes, we ought to be rejoicing about Thanksgiving. But now we're trying to protect our country. Hurricane Heather says she's just listening tonight. Much love to all. Thanks, Heather. We appreciate you and love you too. Anyway, I want to get on with the program. We need to pray for our country. We need to pray for our country. I want to talk about the Pacific Northwest tonight before we get going into anything else. Okay? As you can see by this tremor map, that as of last night, there were no tremors along the Pacific coast of Washington, Oregon, and California. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lie. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network is not showing any earthquakes at all at the volcanoes or along the coastline of Washington, Oregon, or California. It's a lie. It's an absolute out-and-out lie. I'm going to show you hundreds of earthquakes up and down the Pacific coast tonight. Hundreds of earthquakes. And that's not a joke. I'm telling you the truth. What is going on with the agencies, including the USGS, is appalling. It's appalling. First, let's take a look at Cannon Beach, Oregon. Look at this. Okay? Now these red, blue, and black lines here, ignore them. These long, red, black, and blue lines are called abstract. They don't have anything to do with anything. They're trash. But let's try to read between the lines here. Let's try to read between the lines here. Okay? Let me slightly reduce the size of this seismogram so you can see what I'm talking about. Look at the other tremors and earthquakes here. Okay? For example, in the lower center part of your screen here, after 6 a.m. this morning on the black line, there is a 2.2 minor earthquake here. All the rest of these tremors here are just that, tremors. 1.0 to 1.9 tremors here. Okay? The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network doesn't want us to show you this. Okay? They don't want this to come out. They say one thing on their map and this says another. The evidence here says another. Okay? Let's go up to Warrenton, Oregon. The Clatsop County Sheriff's Office. Warrenton, Oregon. Look at this, guys. Look at this. We're not just showing tremors here. We're showing full-blown earthquakes. Full-blown earthquakes. Now again, at the long red, black, and blue lines, ignore them. They don't mean anything. But after we get past the long red, black, and blue lines here, Look at the earthquakes. Look at each individual line after that. Okay? Down here towards the bottom after 5 a.m. this morning. 05 a.m. this morning on the left-hand side is just that, 5 a.m. Okay? This seismogram, all the seismograms I'm going to show you tonight, go between 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon until 5 p.m. today, this afternoon, this evening. Look at these earthquakes. Okay? More than just 2.3, 2.4 earthquakes. At the very bottom on the right-hand side on the blue line, that is a 2.8 earthquake. Now, while 2.0, 2.9 are minor earthquakes, these are earthquakes nonetheless. And USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network should be showing them on their map. But they're not. They're not doing anything. Not putting up information is lying. It's a lying omission. Omitting information is a lie. Okay? Let's now look at LC, Oregon. Here there's few earthquakes. You do see a lot of tremors here. But there is one 2.9, 3.0 earthquake here. This happened after 2:40 a.m. this morning. That long vertical line there with a dot in it. That is a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake here this morning. LC, Oregon. Okay? Why are they not showing that? Inquiring minds want to know. Let's go over to Ferndale, Washington. Not California, Ferndale, Washington. Look at all these tremors here. Look at all this information here. And yet, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network isn't showing this either. On this particular seismogram, after 2 a.m. this morning, there is a 1.9 tremor here in the center of this seismogram. All the rest of these are just tremors. Tiny tremors up to 1.9 tremors on this particular seismogram. Okay? Ferndale, Washington. I kid you not, guys. Let's go over to Fidalgo Island, Washington. Look at all these. Except for the long red and black lines here, all of this is tremors. Tremors along the northwest coast of Washington. Why are these not being recognized by the PNSN? These ought to be shown on the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network map. Hundreds of tremors here along the northwest Pacific coast. Fidalgo Island, Washington. Let's go over to Grays Harbor, Washington. Look at this. Here we're seeing, if you look at the individual lines here, you have thicker lines and then you have very thin lines. Early this morning, actually late yesterday afternoon into last night, they hardly show any activity at all. That's because they turned down the seismograph. They turned down the seismograph. Grays Harbor, Washington. All of a sudden, after 7 a.m. this morning, they turned up the seismograph, and also there was enough seismic energy to make it through the electronic turndown of the seismograph. Here we're seeing 2.6, 2.7 earthquakes. 2.6 and 2.7 earthquakes here. Grays Harbor, Washington. Why are these also not being shown on the map? Inquiring minds want to know. Why not? How about Guaymas Island, Washington? Look at this. Again, they turned down the seismograph. They're hardly showing anything here. They're hardly showing anything here. But down here after 7 a.m., the seismic energy is making it through the turndown. And what happened this afternoon after 3 p.m.? 3:04 p.m. we had a 2.7 earthquake. Prior to that and after that we had tremors. But a 2.7 earthquake here this afternoon. That's also not being shown on the map because that map was last night. Are they going to show it on tonight's map? I doubt it. I doubt it. Rarely do they ever show us the truth. Let's continue on because I have more information than this. And after I get through showing you this, I'm going to show you the volcanoes in the Cascade Mountain Range. Washington, Oregon, Cascade Mountain volcanoes. Let's go over and look at Jewel, Oregon. Look at this. More tremors and earthquakes here. Last night, after 7:41 p.m. last night, 2.7 earthquake, and another 2.4 earthquake, and a lot of tremors here. Then today, after 10:15 this morning, at about 10:23 a.m. this morning, 1.9 tremor. About a minute and a half later, we had a 2.2 earthquake, 2.2 minor earthquake. Why are these not being shown on the tremor map? Especially those that happened last night. Why are they not being shown on the map? Jewel, Oregon. They should be shown on the map. How about Lopez Island, Johns Point, Lopez Island? Look at all this. Folks, each individual horizontal line shows magma going across through the ground. It doesn't get necessarily thicker, but it stays the same. However, we are looking at tremors and earthquakes here. We're looking at tremors and earthquakes. Yes, we do have some tremors and earthquakes here. However, here we're also looking at steam being released from the magma beneath the earth. Not at the volcano, but over at the island here. Lopez Island here. Yes, magma can be released from the earth. And the seismogram here bears it out. These vertical lines here that do not have a dot in them is gas, steam being released from the magma here. Okay? Lopez Island, Washington. Let's look at Napa, Oregon. Look at this. Look at this, guys. Look at all these tremors here. Look at all these tremors, top to bottom, side to side tremors here. This is Guaymas Island, Washington. Why is this also not being reported? Dan Weir in Arkansas is saying that he thinks that they've had earthquakes over there in Arkansas, central Arkansas region, about 140 miles from the New Madrid Fault. Doesn't surprise me at all. Dan, this does not surprise me at all. On Monday, we talked about the pneumatic fault. I showed then, over at the Ozark Folk Center, that we had earthquakes there. 2.4, 2.9 earthquakes over at Ozark Folk Center, Arkansas. Doesn't surprise me. Not at all. Earthquakes are hitting all over Arkansas. We're going to be talking about them more and more. Hurricane Heather is reporting a 3.4 small earthquake over in Nevada. Not surprising either. Not surprising one little bit. Nevada is also getting hit with small and minor earthquakes. Happens all the time. Let's go over a look at Loomy Island, Washington. Again, this is on the northern coast. Look at this. Tremors all over here. Tremors all over here. And again, we're seeing steam being released from the magma here. You don't see this except on the seismogram. Steam being released from the magma. That means the magma is near the surface here. The magma here is heading probably over to Mount Baker. Renee Seppi says she can hardly keep up with the program, much less a chat here. It's so bad. Renee, I'm sorry you're going through that. You may want to get out and then come back in. Okay? Hurricane Heather says, sometimes the ads make her crazy. Yes, the ads here are making me crazy. About every 4 to 5 minutes we get an ad here. It's unreal. This didn't happen before the election. This did not happen before the election, and it also didn't happen before the insurance companies started pouring insurance ads showing a possible $3,300 food allowance card. That's also false information. I just want to tell you, they're saying that any senior over the age of 64 is going to see a food allowance card of $3,300 each month. What a crap load of crap that is. You're not going to do that. My food allowance card is $75 now a month. Come January 1st, it goes down to $45. The insurance companies are the ones giving you that money. It has very little to do with Medicare or Medicaid. The insurance companies are doing that so they can try to induce you to buy insurance, health insurance, through the insurance companies. Don't be falling to their crap. Don't be falling for it. It's garbage. Richard Smith is in the chat saying he keeps getting this old guy saying $50,000 Canadian insurance plan, probably a scam. I agree. Don't fall for their scams, ladies and gentlemen, because that's exactly what they are. Diane Cummins says, we get sick of the commercials and just pay for the no ads. I may do the same thing to stop the ads. It's crap. It's crap. Anyway, this is Loomy Island, Washington. Again, we're seeing tremors here. It's happening all over. This is literally happening all over. Now, I want to show you NEMA site, Pacific County, Washington. Look at this. Here we're seeing tremors and earthquakes this morning. Yes, we're seeing small tremors here, but we're also showing two earthquakes. One, a 2.9 earthquake here that happened after 6:20 this morning. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. The next one was a 2.1 earthquake. These others are all tremors here. Okay? Pacific County, Washington, again along the coastline. Incredible, huh? Well, guess what? That's the beginning. Let's look over here at Orcas, Washington. Orcas Island, Washington. Look at this. Again, here we're seeing these horizontal lines that start off small and get larger and then get smaller again. This is called magma pulse information here. Magma pulse lines. These lines indicate more magma or less magma. The thinner lines, less magma. The thicker lines, more magma. But we're also seeing tremors here. And also minor earthquakes. On the red line here after 6 p.m., actually 6:15, here on the red line here, this is about 6:19 p.m. last night. A 2.8 earthquake there. Then we drop down to early this morning. Okay? This one is after 8 a.m. Okay? Over here we have 8:27 a.m. on this red line. This is a 2.9 earthquake. Then we have some others on these red lines here, just below that. There are 2.0 minor earthquakes. On the black line above that, to the right, that is a 2.4 earthquake there. On the bottom black line here, this is 2:05 p.m. this afternoon. That's a 2.5 earthquake there. Why are they not showing these earthquakes? These are along the Pacific coast. They should be showing you on the tremor map all these earthquakes. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. How about Port of Willapa, Washington? Willapa Harbor, Washington. Look at this. Yes, we are seeing magma coming across on these horizontal lines. We're also seeing a lot of tremors here. The horizontal line shows magma here. The thicker lines, more magma. The thinner lines, less magma here. Here we're also seeing one blue line here, on this blue line, after 1:30 this morning. About 1:40 a.m. this morning, there's a 2.5 earthquake in the center blue line of your seismogram here. All the rest of these are all tremors here. Tremors in magma probably headed over to either Mount Baker, or Glacier Peak volcanoes. Okay? That's what we're seeing here at Port of Willapa, Washington. Let's continue here. I want to go over to San Juan Island, Washington here. Look at this. More tremors here. Yet last night they're not showing any tremors at all on the tremor map. Why not? Why not? Canadian Patriot One, welcome to our program tonight. We appreciate you being here. But look at all these tremors all day long today. These should be on the tremor map tonight. I bet you they're not. I'll bet you they're not. Almost guaranteed they're not going to be here. How about Seaside, Oregon? Look at all this. Ignore the red, blue, and black lines here. This is not magma here. Again, all of these blue, red, and black lines here are all abstract. They don't mean anything about magma here at all. This is all abstract. It's lies. But the reason I'm showing you Seaside, Washington is all of these tremors here. Again, at least 100 tremors here at Seaside, Washington. Along the coastline, where they should be showing us tremors, they're not. Richard Smith is talking about a 3.7 in Potosi, Washington, or Potosi, Bolivia. Incredible. Incredible. Let's see here. How about Tioga Law Enforcement Center in Washington? This is the Fish and Wildlife Center in Washington. Look at all the tremors here. Why are they not showing all this information? Even the tremors last night should be on the tremor map, but they're not. The tremors today after midnight should be on this coming night's tremor map. I bet they're not. Because they don't want us to know what's going on. The Cascadia subduction zone is alive and well. It's moving. It's moving. Now, it might be moving at a rate of several centimeters a day. But as you can see, it is moving. And it is causing tremors here on the seismograms. It is moving. And at some point in time, it's going to move big time. It's going to move big time. Let's look over at Turtleback Complex in Orcas Island. Look at these tremors here. And yes, we have some earthquakes to boot. Down here on the lower side of this seismogram, on the blue line. This is after 11:40 a.m. this morning. Look at these earthquakes here. 2.4 earthquakes. 2.3 earthquakes. And down at the bottom on the red line is just a 1.9 tremor. But you can see on every line here, we have 1.2, 1.3 tremors, and it's constant. It's constant, guys. Orcas Island continues to move every second of every day here. And you can see it. Dan Weir says that's Mount Constitution, Orcas Island. Let me show you Mount Constitution. This is Mount Constitution here. This is Constitution here. Look at these individual horizontal lines. This is magma coming into the magma chamber. It's not very thick. Each line is not showing much thickness here, meaning there's not that much magma. But you can see it here. And then you can also see other individual vertical lines here. The vertical lines with dots in them are earthquakes. The other vertical lines are steam signals. Mount Constitution is steaming. Let's look at late this morning after 11 a.m. this morning. Look at this. 11:15 on the red line here. Magma coming into the magma chamber here. The black line beneath that, less magma here. Blue line, and then the red line after that, after 12:15. Then after 1 p.m. on the black line here beneath that. And yes, we do have some minor tremors there. Mount Constitution, guys. Now, before I show you the other volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest, I'm going to leave these seismograms here, and I want to show you what is going on down in the South Pacific. Get off my webcam here. Folks, this is Luzon Island, the North Island of the Philippines. This is a 5.8 earthquake. This is a very large 5.8 earthquake. Now, I'm going to zoom in here. I want you to see what I know about this earthquake. Let's zoom in here. This is a large, very large 5.8 earthquake. To the south, we have a good-sized city here. Good-sized city spread out all over the place. This is southwest of that 5.8 earthquake. Up here to the north is a smaller city here. Okay? Up here to the north. More cities and farms here. That 5.8 earthquake is a very destructive earthquake. Now, this happened at approximately 4:58 p.m. this afternoon Eastern Time. This was in the middle of the night on Thursday morning over here in the Philippines. Okay? And there are more cities over here as well. All over this area here. Along the coastline especially. Okay? We are going to get reports by morning of damage over here in Luzon, Philippines. A 5.8 earthquake this afternoon our time. Canadian Patriot says, I'll bet they felt that one. Oh, yes, they did. A very large, destructive earthquake. A very large, destructive earthquake. Anywhere from 5.0 to 5.9 are dangerous earthquakes, large earthquakes. Now, USGS and the other agencies are reporting them as moderate earthquakes. There is nothing moderate about a destructive earthquake as large as this. Okay? This is a very deep earthquake. Okay? This is 182 kilometers deep. Now, while that might not seem much, it isn't. It's termed a shallow earthquake. But this is in the hillsides, in the mountain areas here in Luzon, Philippines. There's going to probably be loss of life. There's probably going to be a loss of life here in Luzon, Philippines. I don't think we're going to hear much more until late tonight, which is morning time over in the Philippines. Okay? Over here in Taiwan. This is along the coastline of Taiwan. This is a moderate 4.6 earthquake here. Now, while this is in the water, the people living along the coastline here may have felt something. But for the majority part, this earthquake was absorbed. The shaking of this earthquake was absorbed by the Pacific Ocean here. Okay? The majority of that was absorbed by the Pacific Ocean. Over here in Bacolod, Philippines here. Again, this is off the northwest coast of Mindanao, Philippines. This is a large 5.0 earthquake. Earlier this year, there was an 8.4 earthquake here. This is an aftershock of the 8.4 earthquake that happened, I believe, the end of February, early March earlier this year. A large 5.0 earthquake off the northwest coast of the Philippines, Mindanao, Philippines. For the most part, this is 42 kilometers off the coast. Now, I believe the people that lived along the shoreline here, and no, there's not a large city here. There's not a large city here. There are some people living here. They felt this earthquake. They felt this earthquake. However, the majority part of that earthquake was absorbed by the Pacific Ocean. They may have felt possibly even a moderate 4.1, 4.4 earthquake. But I don't think they felt anywhere close to the large 5.0 earthquake, which it was. Because again, the Pacific Ocean waters absorbed the strains of this earthquake. Now I want to go further south over to New Zealand. I told you about that 5.0 over here off the northwest coast of Mindanao, Philippines. I showed you that 5.8 earthquake over Luzon, Philippines. The earthquake in Luzon, Philippines happened approximately 5 minutes before this earthquake here. This is also a 5.8 earthquake. It happened 5 minutes earlier than this. This happened at 5:03 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. This is approximately 123 kilometers east of Hicks Bay, New Zealand. Now this is off the eastern side of the Indo-Australian Plate. The Indo-Australian Plate. This is off the coast of New Zealand here. You can see where Australia is here. This is the eastern side of the Indo-Australian Plate. Now, there's something to be said about this earthquake. The New Zealanders are expecting a major 8.0 earthquake along the coast of the North Island of New Zealand sometime within the next 25 years. Sometime within the next 25 years. But this is still a very dangerous 5.8 earthquake. And this also may have been larger than this. I have not been able to find out the true size of this earthquake. I haven't gone into the back seismologist study page. I haven't done anything about this earthquake. This earthquake may have been as large as 6.5. I will find out tonight, and I will report back about this possibly as early as tomorrow. But this is off the northeast side of the Indo-Australian Plate. Now, why am I talking about all three of these earthquakes? Why do you think I'm talking about all three of these earthquakes? They're all three dangerous earthquakes. There are 7 different tectonic plates in play here. 7 different tectonic plates coming over here into New Zealand, Tonga, and Samoa, as well as all the way over here into Taiwan and Japan, and as far south as Australia here. 7 different tectonic plates coming in play here. It's no wonder we have so many earthquakes here, and USGS is not even showing us all the earthquakes. There are approximately 18 earthquakes over in Indonesia tonight. And again, they're not showing any at all. They're not showing you any earthquakes at all in Indonesia or Papua New Guinea. None. This tells you how reliable the United States Geological Survey is. The USGS is garbage. The USGS is garbage. They're just showing us the Philippine earthquakes and the Taiwanese earthquake. And then one earthquake over here in Tajikistan. Actually, this is northern India, but it's right next to Tajikistan. It's a 4.3 earthquake. I am so disappointed in the U.S. Geological Survey. Back when I was in college, I revered the USGS. My professor talked highly of the USGS. But they can't tell us the truth. They're not telling us what is actually going on. They're showing us this one earthquake in Tajikistan. So I misread this map here. This indeed is India here. Northeastern India. 4.3 earthquake. Over here is the one I was pointing to earlier, or I wanted to show you earlier. This was a 4.7 Tajikistan. This earthquake is in Tunzuk, China, a 4.5. And then this other large earthquake here, a 5.1 in Mongolia, Sengel, Mongolia, 10 kilometers deep. And then this earthquake here. This is again over in southern Iran. This is quite close to the same earthquake that we had here just last week when Russia was hitting Ukraine with missiles. And I explained to you that night that there was a Russian command and control aircraft heading down here to Iran. Another one heading over to Tel Aviv, Israel. Now, I have a question to ask here. Why are we seeing earthquakes down here in Iran? Is Iran testing atom bombs beneath the surface? Nobody's telling us. Nobody's telling us. Is Iran testing these atomic bombs just like we did in the Nevada desert back in the 50s? This is a second pretty good sized earthquake here in Iran. In the exact same location where we had that large 5.1 earthquake last week. Yes, there are underground bunkers here. This is also the approximate location where we have these test sites for atomic reactors. These are test sites where they have atomic reactors beneath the ground. Okay? So again, I ask the same question. Have they been igniting missiles or atom bombs beneath the surface? The United States isn't showing any radiation in the air. But will they? I doubt it. I doubt it. Last week when Russia was attacking Ukraine with their ICBM that they talked about, when they launched the attack against Ukraine, the United States was concerned that Russia might launch an atomic attack on Ukraine because they threatened to. They're still threatening to do it. The United States had launched an atom bomb sniffer, a radiation sniffer from our Air Force base near San Francisco. The Air Force also launched command and control aircraft there as well. They launched command and control aircraft over at Tinker Air Force Base. And that one headed south over to the Gulf of Mexico. We had B-22 bombers launched from Louisiana as well. We had a command and control aircraft there on the East Coast as well. It was launched over here from Norfolk, Virginia. Interesting. Interesting. Linda Covington is asking, USGS oil spies? I don't know. But all I'm saying is the USGS is not telling us the truth. And our government is also not telling the truth. I believe Uncle Joey is trying to get us into World War III prior to President Trump taking over the presidency. Trying to get us into World War III before Trump takes the presidency. One other large earthquake down here in the South Sandwich Islands before we go back to the Pacific Northwest. This is a 5.2 earthquake down here in the Scotia Sea, just south of South Sandwich Islands. This is 10 kilometers deep. It's on the Antarctic Ridge here. A 5.2 earthquake on the Antarctic Ridge, southeast of Argentina. Okay? That's what they're showing us here. Now I'm going to get us back over to the USGS, or to the Pacific Northwest Site Network here. I want to now show you what is actually going on in the Pacific Northwest when it comes to volcanoes. So let's get back to that. Okay? This is Mount Constitution. That's Mount Constitution. Now, I want to show you Mount Baker. Mount Baker is the volcano just south of the Canadian border. Juvie Joe is saying respond. I'm not sure what you're asking, Juvie Joe. Don Patoga is also saying here in the chat, PSYOPs is the art of lying while telling the truth, convincing or distracting people for political purposes or political gain. True. True. Okay? Now, while you guys are seeing these insurance ads coming up on YouTube, I have gotten 10 insurance telephone calls already today, and I just got another one I just got rid of. I'm getting 10 to 15 telephone calls trying to sell me insurance every day. It should be interesting what happens tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day. Are they going to give us more insurance calls trying to sell us insurance before December 15th, when they can no longer do this? Okay? This is Mount Baker. This is Shuxon. This is a ski resort at Mount Baker. Okay? What are we looking at here? This seismogram here is the HHN seismogram, showing us what is going on at the volcano. Now, we're not seeing much happening in the way of wavy lines here. Yes, we are seeing some wavy lines here. The wavy lines you see on this seismogram are magma coming into the volcano. It's not showing us much magma coming into the volcano. But we see one vertical line here. This vertical line is showing steam coming from Mount Baker. Mount Baker is also steaming. This vertical line is a steam signature here at Mount Baker. Okay? And this is the only seismogram I'm going to show you at Mount Baker, because all the rest of them are nothing but lies. False information. Okay? Now, I want to go now down to Mount Rainier. I tried to look up the information at Glacier Peak, and it wouldn't show it to me. Okay? I tried. So let's go over here to Mount Rainier. Okay? This is Camp Muir at Mount Rainier. We're seeing tremors here. We're also showing a 3.3 earthquake. 5:02 this morning. A 3.3 small earthquake here. That long vertical red line here with a dot in it. That is a 3.3 earthquake here at Mount Rainier earlier this morning. All the rest of these vertical lines are all tremors here. All the rest of these vertical lines are all tremors here at Camp Muir, Mount Rainier. Let me show you the rest of these seismograms here. This is Camp Sherman. Look what we're seeing here. Okay? All of these vertical lines here have curlicues. These are also steam signals. Steam signals here at Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier is steaming like I've never seen it before. Now, I tried to pull up pictures of Mount Rainier today. Unfortunately, I could not find a good picture showing steam coming from Mount Rainier, because all the pictures I found were taken earlier before that, either days or weeks before that. Also here in the center of this seismogram, we're also seeing a magma churn signal. Let me enlarge this seismogram so we can take a look at that. The magma churn signals are usually 23 or 24 lines high. This magma churn signal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines high. This means this magma churn signal is only showing us what? 30% of real world? Possibly as much as 26 to 30% of real world. Which means the seismologist turned down the strength of this seismograph. They turned it down. So only seeing 26 to 30% of real world. 26 to 30% of real world. So these other vertical lines showing earthquakes here. Yes, we're seeing an earthquake at approximately 1:10 this morning. Okay, a 2.2, 2.3 earthquake, 1:10 this morning on this black line here with a dot in the middle of it in the upper center part of the seismogram you're seeing here. Now, if this was just maybe a 2.2, 2.3 earthquake, knowing that this seismograph has been turned way down, this could have been as much as a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. They're not showing us the true information here. Again, it's nothing but lies from the USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. The seismologists have turned down this seismograph. They've turned it down. Why? They don't have to, but they've done it. Let's go over to Mount Rainier Emerald Ridge. This particular seismogram here is showing us the vertical or the wavy lines here. The VL wave lines, the very low frequency wave lines. Again, this is caused by magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Rainier. Earlier last night, after 5 p.m. last night, between 5 and 8 p.m. last night, there was a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. Now, the other seismograms I've shown you don't show much in the way of earthquakes that could have been caused by this magma coming into the magma chamber, fracturing rock inside the magma chamber of Mount Rainier. Not showing hardly any activity. But the United States Geological Survey is only showing one tremor here on the tremor map. Judging by this seismogram here, we're seeing a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber last night. Why are we not showing earthquakes on the other seismographs? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Okay? But again, here at Mount Rainier, we're showing a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. Interesting, huh? Interesting enough, huh? That's really interesting. This is really interesting. That was Emerald Ridge. Let's go south and take a look at Mount St. Helens. I'm going to show you 5 seismograms here at Mount St. Helens. This is East Dome Mount St. Helens. We're showing one good-sized earthquake here earlier this morning. This is at approximately 8:40 a.m. this morning. Okay? This is another 3.0 earthquake here at Mount St. Helens. Now we see 2 other vertical lines off to the right. Both of these after the earthquake. These vertical lines are showing steam coming from Mount St. Helens. There are steam signatures here. The other marks here on the seismogram are showing tremors here. Very minor tremors here at Mount St. Helens. This is East Dome Mount St. Helens. This is a seismograph sitting on top of the rock that was solidified after the last eruption. East Dome Mount St. Helens. Okay? Let's take a look at September Lobe. September Lobe is another seismograph sitting just down on the east side of that other seismograph, or on the east side of that other seismograph. Seismograph is a machine, seismogram is the diagram that we're showing you. This is a September Lobe seismogram. This is BDF-CC01. This is the same seismogram that's going to show us the amount of magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount St. Helens. The wavier the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber of the volcano. Look what we see here. The previous seismogram here at East Dome Mount St. Helens did not show a lot of earthquake activity late last night. But here they're showing a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. Also late last night, after 11 p.m. last night. 11 p.m. on the left-hand side is 2300 hours. 2300 hours is 11 p.m. Look what happens between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. A lot of wavy lines showing magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount St. Helens. And even after that, there's still a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber from this seismogram. If this seismogram is right, and I believe it is showing a lot of activity out Mount St. Helens. But on these other seismograms, they're not showing their seismic activity, the earthquakes. They're not showing the earthquake activity. Let's look at Studebaker Ridge, which is on the north side of Mount St. Helens. Look at this. We're also seeing that same earthquake, that same 3.3 earthquake here at Mount St. Helens. All we're seeing here on this seismogram is last night showing more magma coming into the magma chamber. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber here. The thinner the lines, less magma here. We ought to see a lot of thicker lines up here at the top of this seismogram because this is 5 p.m. And on the September Lobe seismogram, we're showing a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. They're not showing that on this seismogram either. Let's take a look at another seismogram here. Let's take a look at Sugar Bowl. Sugar Bowl is only showing some thick lines and a lot of thin lines. Again, we should be seeing earthquakes early last night, 5 p.m. till about 8 p.m. We're not seeing it. Why? The question is, why are we not seeing earthquakes? Because, folks, the seismologists turned down the seismographs. I should say turned down the seismographs. The seismologists turned down the seismographs. So on the seismographs, we're not seeing the activity. Again, they're trying to hide information about Mount St. Helens. Why? Because they know darn well that Mount St. Helens has a lot of activity. And I just show you that activity on the other seismogram at September lobe. September lobe is showing a large amount of magma coming into Mount St. Helens. And these other seismograms should be showing earthquakes, and they're not. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network is hiding the information. They're showing one earthquake on some of the seismograms. One 3.3 earthquake earlier this morning. 7:40 a.m. this morning. They're not showing anything else here. Yes, they're showing one lousy tremor early this afternoon. That's all. Let's take a look at one more seismogram here at Trade Dollar Lake, just north of Mount St. Helens. Look at this. Trade Dollar Lake is showing steam here. The seismogram here at Trade Dollar Lake is showing steam. So Mount St. Helens is also steaming. Mount St. Helens is also showing steaming going on. Unreal. So we know darn well that there is magma coming into this volcano because we're seeing steaming going on here. These are steam signals here at Trade Dollar Lake. Okay? Steam signals here at Trade Dollar Lake. That's a lot of activity at St. Helens. Let's go south to Mount Hood. I want to show you Lamberson Butte, Mount Hood. Look at this, guys. These are showing a lot of tremor activity here at Mount Hood. A lot of tremor activity at Mount Hood. And the bottom of this seismogram is actually showing you earthquakes. 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes this afternoon. Look at those vertical lines this afternoon. Yes, we're seeing some tremors as well. But 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes this afternoon. Mount Hood is busy. Mount Hood is busy, guys. No doubt. Let's take a look at Hood Meadows to the south. Look at this. Yes, here we're showing steaming, but we're also showing some earthquakes as well. Let's look at this one earthquake at about 12:07 p.m. 12:07 a.m. this morning on that red line. 12:07 last night. This is a 3.4 earthquake here at Mount Hood. 3.4 earthquake at Mount Hood. On this black line here, this is about 2:07 a.m. this morning. This is a 2.8 earthquake here. 2.8 minor earthquake. The other is a small earthquake. 3.0, 3.9 is considered to be small earthquakes. 2.0 to 2.9 are minor earthquakes. Yes, we're seeing a lot of tremors here at Mount Hood as well. Let's look at these other seismograms here at Mount Hood. Let's take a look at Palmer Lift. Palmer Lift is on the south side of Mount Hood. The south side of Mount Hood. It's up the center, towards the center of the volcano. This is a ski resort. Up at the top of this seismogram here, 5 p.m. last night. Actually, this is showing 4 p.m. That's right, there's a time change here. This is 4 p.m. last night. You show a thicker line here. Magma is coming into Mount Hood here. Palmer Lift is showing us magma coming into Mount Hood here. Then we have thinner lines here. Less magma coming into Mount Hood. Then, as we see in other seismograms that USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network put out, all of a sudden the lines become very thin or non-existent. That means the agency turned down the seismograph. The agency turned down the seismograph. And yet, we still have some activity here. We're seeing some tremors. We're also seeing some magma coming into the magma chamber at midnight. Enough activity that it's making its way through the electronic turndown. Why am I saying this is making its way through the electronic turndown? Because after 1 o'clock this morning, all of a sudden the activity nearly dies out until just after 5:15 this morning. Then we start seeing more magma. We also see some earthquakes as a result of magma entering the volcano here at Mount Hood here. Then at 7 a.m. we're also seeing activity. And prior to that, over on the right-hand side, actually on the right-hand side, it's blue here, which means after 6:30 this morning, actually 6:44 this morning, we had some tremor activity. 1.5 tremor activity. Incredible. Incredible. Then, after 7 a.m. this morning, nearly 7:03 this morning, we had a 2.5, 2.6 earthquake on the black line there. Then we see a bunch of tremors. On the red line, which is 7:15 over here at the right-hand side, actually on the left-hand side, we have some tremor activity at 7:15. Then we come over here to the right-hand side near the center, and this is at like 7:25 this morning. We have more tremor activity, and possibly even as much as a 2.0 earthquake. On the black line here beneath that, the red line should be beneath the black line, but in this case, it's backwards. On this black line, after about 7:10 this morning, we have a bunch of tremors here. A bunch of tremors here at Palmer Lift. Then, this afternoon, after approximately 1:08, 1:09 p.m. this afternoon, we have a steam signature. A vertical line here without a dot in the middle of it. That's a steam signature. So we know that Mount Hood is steaming. Okay, this is Palmer Lift. Let's take a look at Government Camp. Let's take a look at Mount Hood at Government Camp. Government Camp is Timberline. We go to the seismogram at Timberline. That's Government Camp. Look at this activity here. The top line here we don't want to pay attention to because it is solid red line. That solid red line doesn't mean much of anything. But these other red, blue, and black lines mean that there is magma here. And yes, in this case, it's kind of zigzag lines here. We're still seeing tremors here. Look at the tremor activity at Mount Hood. Look at the tremor activity at Mount Hood. We also have earthquakes here. We have some earthquakes after 1 a.m. here on the black line here, after 2 a.m. here on the black line near the top. See the earthquakes there? 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes caused by magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Hood. Then at the bottom on the blue and red lines here, we're seeing rat-a-tat-tat signals. That is a seismogram telling us they are drilling for steam here at the volcano. Apparently, they have great big huge boilers here, great big huge turbines here near Mount Hood to generate electricity. So they are drilling for steam here at Mount Hood. That's where we see these rat-a-tat-tat signals like this. They're drilling for steam here at Mount Hood. This is the first time we've seen rat-a-tat-tat signals here at Mount Hood. Richard Smith here in the chat saying Earth is like a very large egg with a fractured shell. Pretty much. That pretty much describes the Earth as we see it. That's pretty much it. We've got a hard outer shell in some areas, but that outer shell is coming apart. That outer shell is coming apart. Good observations, Richard. Appreciate that. Okay. That's Timberline at Mount Hood. Let's take a look at Tom, Dick, and Harry. Tom, Dick, and Harry is a volcano in and of itself, near Mount Hood. Is it the same elevation as Mount Hood is? Okay, but it's to the north. Look at this activity here. Yes, we're seeing seismic signals here. For the most part, these are just tremors. But we're also seeing some larger seismic activity here, mostly minor earthquakes. Mostly tremors and minor earthquakes here. At the bottom here on the blue line on the right-hand side, we're barely seeing 1.7, 1.8 tremors here on the blue line. All the rest of this is all tremor activity. That means Mount Hood and the surrounding area is moving, and it's moving to a great extent. Constant and consistent tremor activity, second after second, moment after moment, side to side, top to bottom in the seismogram. This is a lot of activity here at Mount Hood. Okay? That's wild. I want to show you one other seismogram here at Mount Hood, Yoakum Ridge. Yoakum Ridge is another mountainside near Mount Hood. Look what we're seeing here. Tremor activity here as well. This is all seismic activity. But we're also seeing more than just tremors here. We may be seeing minor earthquakes here as well, looking at the very bottom of this seismogram. This is a lot of movement here. A lot of movement out Mount Hood. Yoakum Ridge. Let's go south. Okay? Now, I want to show you other activity. I have one seismogram at Newberry Volcano. Look at this. Newberry Volcano is south of Mount Hood. I want to show you Sisters, but I could not find the seismogram at Sisters Volcano. Look at this. This is all tremors at Newberry Volcano. Unreal. Unreal. This is constant tremor activity. These volcanoes are moving, folks. this to be happening at more than just Newberry Volcano and more than Mount Hood and even over at Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier. The volcanoes are moving, guys. It is very apparent. There is seismic activity caused by the magma coming into Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, and Newberry Volcano. This is a lot of activity. Okay? I've not seen this here at Newberry Volcano before. I've been looking into this, studying it for 5.5 years. This is the first time I've seen this kind of activity at Newberry Volcano. Now I want to go over to Crater Lake. Now, there are only 2 seismograms that are available for us at Crater Lake. The first one is over on the southeast side of the volcano. This is South Central Oregon. South Central Oregon. Again, what have we seen at the other volcanoes? We're also seeing here at Mount Scott. This is Crater Lake, Mount Scott, the southeast side of Crater Lake. The same thing that we're seeing at the other volcanoes. The exact same thing we're seeing at all the other volcanoes. Incredible. This is incredible activity. Now, they're not showing us Crater Lake Cleetwood Cove. It's turned off. It's been turned off for some time now. Probably going on to 2 months. Completely turned off. The only other seismogram we have here at Crater Lake is over in the center south side of Crater Lake. It's called Bunkhouse. This is the Bunkhouse seismogram. Look what we're seeing here. For the most part, tremors. For the most part, tremors. Now, late last night about midnight, just after midnight, we have a vertical straight line here. This is not an earthquake. This is also a steam signal here at Crater Lake. So you know that Crater Lake is steaming. Now, Crater Lake has a lake at the top of it, doesn't it? The volcano has a very deep lake at the top of it. It's an alpine lake. So we're very likely not going to see steam coming out of the lake, because the cold waters turn down the temperature of the steam, and all that we might see are tiny bubbles coming up through the water. But we do not have any good visual identification on the surface of Crater Lake. But we do have this seismogram here. And yes, early this morning, we have activity that's showing seismic activity here. Okay? After 6:30 this morning on this blue line, we start seeing some tremor activity. Very tiny tremor activity here at Crater Lake. On the black line just after 7 a.m. this morning, we see increased tremor activity here. The red line that's just above that is 7:15 this morning. Even after that, we're seeing some tremor activity. 8:30 this morning on the blue line, we're still seeing tremor activity. And more tremor activity after 9:15 on the red line. Over on the black line after 9 o'clock this morning, we're seeing a 3.0 earthquake after we've seen tremors, and then we see more tremors after that. This is at least a 3.0, 3.2 earthquake at Crater Lake. We see a small earthquake at Crater Lake today, guys. We haven't seen 3.0 activity at Crater Lake in a very long time. This is possibly the first good-sized earthquake we've seen at Crater Lake in a very long time. I don't remember ever seeing 3.0 small earthquakes at Crater Lake before in the 5.5 years I've been studying this. It's incredible. It's incredible. Now, these are all the seismographs I'm going to show you in the Cascade Mountain volcano region. Now, there are two other volcanoes in the Cascade Mountain range. Those are in Northern California, Mount Shasta, and to the south of that, Mount Lassen. And I show you activity at both those volcanoes in the past. Yes, Mount Lassen is showing more activity than Mount Shasta is. It appears that Mount Lassen is getting ready to erupt just like Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier are. Okay? That's happening. We're seeing it. Even Hurricane Heather's felt seismic activity there. Hurricane Heather lives south and east of Mount Shasta. Incredible. We appreciate each and every one of you being here tonight. Now, does anybody have any questions about anything that we said here tonight or told you about or shown you tonight? Does anybody have any questions about anything we said here tonight? No questions? Dan Weir is saying that the Earth is influenced by the moon and the sun's flares and compress the magnetic field of the atmosphere of the Earth. Absolutely, they do. The moon influences the tides on this Earth. The moon also has some kind of pull on the plates and the faults. Okay? Whenever we have a planetary alignment, with the moon especially, we see an increased amount of seismic activity. Okay? It's called electromagnetic radiation when we have planetary alignments. And yes, the moon has a part in that. But the sun, creating those flares, sending the plasma radiation to the Earth, is causing earthquakes. The plasma radiation heats up the faults and heats up the plates. And all the faults and the plates are held together only by crap in between the faults and the plates. By crap, I'm not talking about crap necessarily. I'm talking about sand, earth, dirt. I'm talking about biological material holding the plates in place with friction. When we have solar radiation or electromagnetic radiation, it heats up the plates. It heats up the plates, and when it heats up the plates and the faults, it reduces the junk that's holding the plates in place to an oily, greasy substance. All that stuff that's holding the plates in place, it reduces that stuff to an oily, greasy substance, which allows the plates and the faults to move more freely like this. That is what's going on. That is what's going on. Arnold Smith says frictional components, absolutely. The dirt, the sand, the plant and biological material and stuff, all that is holding the plates and the faults in place. And when we have that piezoelectric, electromagnetic electricity, or the plasma radiation, that electromagnetic activity is radiation as well. But that radiation and the plasma radiation heats up that stuff, allows the plates and the faults to more freely move. That's when we have earthquakes. Juby Joe says she gets it, but she has questions. Juby Joe, what do you have questions about? Let's hopefully answer your questions. But I'm sure other people have the same questions. Please ask. We want to know your questions so we can answer your questions and thereby educate everybody else. Richard Smith says, would that be offset of harmonic frequency? Whenever we have the plates or the faults rubbing together like this, it creates harmonics. It creates harmonic frequencies. Very low frequency radiation. Okay? Harmonics. Okay? That happens. Whenever we have a major earthquake, people that live anywhere near that fault zone or that plate hear the earth move. You can actually hear the plates rubbing together, or the faults. Juvie Joe is asking, why do people seek out our mineral rights? Because they want to harvest those minerals and turn them into money. That's why they seek out the mineral rights, so they can make money. It doesn't necessarily have to be oil either. It could be water. It could be lithium. It could be magnesium. It could be iron ore. They want to harvest those minerals to make money. That's why. And Dan Weir says the thinning of the crust from below, yes. That happens. That happens. Any other questions? Arnold Smith says friction creates heat in a no atmospheric condition. Rocks can be heated up to temperature, and where they fuse together and squeeze, they squeeze out crystalline elements like quartz. You're right. But when that friction loses its ability to hold those components together, that's when we have earthquakes. When the faults overcome the friction, that's when the plates and the faults move. Okay? Friction holds those plates and faults together. Again, when electromagnetic radiation or plasma radiation from the sun heat up those components, the sand, the rock, the biological material heats up, turns into a greasy, oil-like substance, and allows the plates to more freely move. Richard Smith says iron and sulfur can hide gold. You're right. You're right. It's wild. It's wild. And yes, we have greedy people that want those mineral rights. Even Russia would love to take over the United States to get at our oil. We have more oil beneath our surface than Russia ever would. And that's why Russia wants the United States. President Trump told us that there was a lot of oil hiding beneath our surface that would give us oil and gas for a lot of years. But Biden turned it off. That's why the gas prices went skyrocketing. Unreal. Unreal. All right, guys. That's our report for tonight. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving Day. Carol and I are going to have Thanksgiving. We gathered together materials to start our Thanksgiving cooking tonight. Tonight we're going to cook pies. I may even get to preparing the sweet potatoes and a few other things so we can cook them tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to put the turkey on about 11 o'clock in the morning and have it cook literally all day long. We're going to get up about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade out of New York at 8:30 on NBC. You guys can watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade on NBC at about 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Whatever time that is in your time zone. It's at 7:30 a.m. Central Time 6:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 5:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, your television stations in your areas may delay the broadcast until 8:30 your time. I noticed in Salt Lake City, it started at 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time, but it actually starts at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time here on the East Coast. Just so you know. Yes, we're going to have food here. Come on down, Don. We'd love to have you. Don says, food be there soon, Sir Ron. Come on down. We'd love to have you. Juby Joe says she doesn't celebrate, but love people who do. Thanks, Juby Joe. We love you too. Arnold Smith says, Ron, Walmart time on the second Capucci. Cool. I'll have to check that. Send me an email, Arnold. We appreciate that. God bless you for that. Scott Carico says, happy Thanksgiving, Ron and family. I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I want to, with this Thanksgiving Day approaching, leave you with spiritual thought. True disciples of Jesus Christ are willing to stand out, and speak up, and be different from the world. True disciples of Jesus Christ are willing to stand out and speak up, and be different from the world. Each one of us are disciples of Jesus Christ. And those people that are part of the EMA family stand out above everyone else. You all are good people. You all are disciples of Jesus Christ. And we speak up. We're different from the rest of the world. We want to be different. We want to be different. We want to be examples of the Lord's gospel. With this Thanksgiving Day approaching tomorrow, please, guys, pray to God and ask Him to help us. Pray and ask for blessings on ourselves, our families, and our countries. May you all have a happy Thanksgiving. Be thankful that Jesus Christ is by our side, helping every day. I have a testimony, firm, strong testimony of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He loves us. He does want to bless us. We are in a very sick world. We're in a very sick world. The gospel of Jesus Christ is like a hospital for sick people. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But we're in here together. We're here together. May God bless us. May God bless us that we can continue to be disciples of Jesus Christ. To stand out and let everybody know what we're standing for. And to speak up. Brothers and sisters, I love you very much. Please, if you will, give us a thumbs up before you leave this program tonight. Please share this program with everybody you know. There isn't anybody that doesn't know what we talked about tonight. We talked about earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest and up and down the coast. The agencies are not going to show that information, are they? They never do. May God be with you this day and always. Please share this program far and wide with your friends, your neighbors, your family, your extended family, your social media contacts here on the internet, and the people you work with. Pray for our world. Pray for peace. We need it. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Have a good night, everybody. We love you very much. Take care. Enjoy your Thanksgiving Day. We'll probably be back on the air tomorrow, briefly, just for a Thanksgiving message. We will see you on the other side. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. Good night. Thank you, everybody. Have a